Damn, why am I getting emotional? This is so important right here. Like, I've been looking for this. That's why I was so excited about coming here today.
Lanny Smith, Michael Rumph. We're getting ready to talk about the Reconstruction Code.
Transitioning into coaching is what I needed. I thought my success had to come just like it came as an athlete. That right there was humbling within itself.
For black men, we believe our value is only in what we can provide, what our titles are, what our accomplishments are. That's gonna leave you empty every time.
Vulnerability becomes the path to your victory. My brother, we can't heal what we don't reveal.
A big healing moment for me is the day that I was actually able to forgive my father. To this day, I still get chills when I tell the story.
I'm out there giving it all to my players, but when I come home, I'm not giving it to my family. You'd hate to be called out, but you gotta listen.
We had 300 black men write down, what are you struggling with mentally? And so many of them talked about.
It's time for something that's just for us. It's time to unlock something new. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you're tuned in to the Bless Code. Welcome to today's episode. I'm here with my guys, Lanny Smith, my brother, Michael Rumph, and we're getting ready to talk about rebuilding careers after peak success, AKA the Reconstruction Code. Oftentimes in life, we encounter some things. We have great, unique plans, and sometimes those plans don't go as plans. And I often like to say it's the blessing to be able to modify your strategy to fit your reality. Take us back to the moment during your NBA career as it relates to the injury that you encountered and what was going through your mind.
Yeah, well, the NBA was my dream since I was 5 years old. Like I was obsessed with that dream. My mom has kept homework from when I was in elementary school where, you know, the teacher would ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I literally wrote down, I'm going to be an NBA player. So it's interesting to go back home and see that she's kept those things because I was so focused and adamant on what I wanted to be even at an early age. So that was my entire growing up. I skipped out on the parties that my friends were going to because I was going to the gym and getting that extra work in. I was laser focused on this dream. It was my everything. Every birthday wish, every prayer included making it to the NBA. And so in 2009, I was blessed with the opportunity to sign with the Sacramento Kings. And for me, it was a powerful moment because I actually had an injury in college that they thought was a career-ending injury. And I came back from that to still make it to my dream. And so I was on top of the world, to walk in that locker room every day and see, that NBA jersey with my name on the back and what that meant and knowing that this was a dream I had since I was 5 years old. But 33 days after signing my first NBA contract, a teammate fell into my left knee, tore the articular cartilage in my left knee. I had 2 microfracture surgeries and my career was over with just like that. Yeah.
Wow. So how did you process that?
If I'm being honest with you, we're gonna keep it real. I went into a deep state of depression. There were moments where I was angry with God, because this was something I prayed for. This was something I felt like He blessed me with this elite level ability to play this game, and I thought that was my purpose. So to make it, and then 33 days later it's gone, felt like a cruel joke. You know what I mean? I couldn't understand and wrap my mind around. God, why would you bless me with the opportunity to reach this dream and then it's taken away like this? And so I was angry. I was embarrassed to show my face. We were talking earlier. I'm from Houston, Texas. I played my college ball at the University of Houston. Walking around in the city, everybody would always ask me, I thought you was in the NBA. You're supposed to be playing in the NBA. And so it was a constant reminder of what seemed like failure to me. I was supposed to take care of my family. I was supposed to be the one to do those things. And so it was hard for me to accept. And honestly, man, I had those thoughts where it was like, I don't have any value in this world.
Mm.
You know, this is what I thought I was going to be doing, and now that's gone. I had no idea what I was going to be doing next in my life. So
That is so profound. We actually was having some similar conversations on previous episodes around mindset.
Mhm.
The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he in his heart. And the thoughts that you were channeling at that time of your life was actually preparation for what you're doing today in your life. You had plans and desires at a young age. I would imagine or assume that those desires came about because of what you saw growing up in the urban community, which we as Black men share. These are the things that we saw. We aspire to be like Mike. We aspire to those things.
Yeah.
That's what we saw.
yeah,
And then you work so hard for the things that you aspire to be, and all of a sudden, it was taken away by way of a knee injury. But in spite of it all, you're here today to share that story.
yeah.
I want to say, my brother, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for sharing
Thank you.
that and being vulnerable. I often tell people this: your vulnerability becomes the path to your victory.
Mm.
It enables you and allows you to get on the path to your healing. My brother, we can't heal what we don't reveal. My yesterday pain does not have to be my current pain, my present pain. And as you all are tuning into this conversation, I want to encourage you to embrace the blessing to let go of that pain. Because the plans that you may have had, I want to let you know something, my brother. God has greater plans. My brother Mike, talk to me about the career. Talk to me about what was your thoughts, your desires, and post that.
Career was great, you know. Like Lenny said, it was a dream come true to be a first-round pick and move all the way 3,000 miles away to a whole nother city and, you know, start a new life with my newborn son and my wife, girlfriend at the time. And, you know, I took advantage of it the best I could. I played football for 15 straight years. It's something that I always wanted to do, but we both know a lot comes with that as far as injuries. I've had 2 injuries, missed 2 seasons. Just dealing with life after football, being able to like say, what's next? I remember sitting thinking once I finally said, okay, I'm gonna retire, the hardest thing was like, what am I gonna do next? And I remember I go right here in Miramar and sit at a coffee shop every morning to read the classified, trying to find deals. I got a little money, but I was fearful because I had played football my whole life and everything in my life was structured. You know, when you're an athlete, every day you get a schedule. Do this, that, the third, and this is what you got going on. When you retire, you don't have that schedule no more. Now, I'm picking up the kids from school and trying to be there to support my wife and, living a whole different life that I'm not used to. So I had to do a lot of soul searching and surround myself with people that were going through something similar to what I was going through and to enable myself to move forward to that next step.
That is so profound, and that is so common as it relates to what we share as men. We set ourselves mentally to one thing, one plan. We focus on that thing. We nourish that thing. And when expiration is here, what's next? What is my next? One of the things that I want to encourage you all is this. You are more than what you think you are. As my brother LeBron often says, I am more than an athlete. You are more than that. You are more than that. It's important for us to live a life of no limitations. It's important for us to tap into the blessing that God has given us. The spirit of no fear, but the power of a clear, sound mind. But oftentimes, because of our own ways and our own thoughts, it distracts us and keeps us back from tapping into the other gifts that we have to offer to ourselves, our kids, and our communities. Brother Lanny, talk to me. What sparked the vision? Because post your tenure and you experience your knee injury,
Yep.
at some point a vision
Yeah.
of something happened that was inserted in you
Yeah.
to create this faith-based apparel brand called Actively Black.
What was Active Faith? Active Faith was the first one, and Actively Black is the second company. But Active Faith, honestly, it was one. It was something that saved my life. I told you I was in that dark place of not feeling like I had any value, and I actually had a brother named Mikado Henson, who was a team chaplain when we were when I was in college, who was checking up on me, and he was like, "Man, I want you to understand that."
And this is while you were recovering, or this is?
Yeah, this is after my second knee surgery, and it's done, and I'm in this state of depression. And Mikado hit me, and he said, "God loves you whether you ever score another basket ever in your life, and He's got another purpose for you." And so I took those words, and I remember saying this prayer. I was still laid up after that second surgery. My leg was elevated. And I remember saying this prayer. I said, "God, I thought this is what you have for me. And if this is being taken away, I'm begging you to show me what you want me to do with my life. And whatever it is you show me, that's what I'm going to do." And it was probably 2 weeks after saying that prayer of just like submitting to His will and whatever it was, that this idea started to formulate of merging my passions, right? My faith was something that was always important to me. I prayed before every game, before I stepped on the court. And obviously sports was so important to me. And so like, how can I merge these passions in my life? And over the course of my career, from high school to college to the pros, so many different teammates that I had, like that we would go to chaplain services, we would pray together. I realized, man, there's other guys who carry this faith with them wherever they go, on and off the court, on and off the field. There's no brand that speaks to that part of us. You know, you've got the Nikes, the Adidas, the Puma that exist, but none of them speak to this faith-based aspect of our lives. And so this idea came like, can I create the faith-based version of Nike? That was really what the idea was. And so a couple of friends of mine, Anthony Tolliver and Stephen Curry, who were still playing basketball, they also men of faith. They loved the idea, put in some seed money, and we launched this brand called Active Faith that I launched out of my mom's house. The word says, whatever you do in word or deed, do in the name of the Lord. And so how I interpreted that is like, whatever you're doing, whether you're playing football, whether you're playing basketball, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a parent, you can do for His glory. And so that was the foundation behind building that brand, and how it was able to bless people and touch people was something that was so powerful. And so in building that, I transferred all of that same work ethic that I dedicated to making it to the NBA. I just transferred that same energy into building this brand. And so, was blessed and fortunate. I think Active Faith at its peak, we had customers in 72 different countries.
Wow.
And I think really the more powerful thing is not even success from the number standpoint, but it's also the type of feedback that we would get. So to this day, I still get chills when I tell the story. Got an email from a customer who had got a cancer diagnosis. And he said, man, I felt like giving up. I wore my Active Faith shirt to my chemo treatment yesterday, and it just reminded me to keep my faith and to keep fighting. And that's when I knew, like, this is bigger than just another sports apparel brand. This is something that is actually positively impacting somebody's life. That same concept is really what even inspired for Actively Black. Was like, can I create a brand that is bigger than just the product? It's bigger than just the apparel, but it's actually positively impacting people's lives. So
that is extraordinary. It's the idea where faith and purpose meets. You allowing your faith to intercede for you to just go for it. Go for it all.
It's active.
Yeah.
Active faith, you know what I mean? Faith without works is dead. So it's really a double entendre. It's like, yeah, it's active wear, you know what I mean? But it's also just a reminder that, you know, I have to be active in my faith. That's what actually makes things move, is when God sees you acting in that faith. So
absolutely, because God has qualified you. He has equipped you. Where those two were aligned, you activated your faith. You may have not seen where you were going, but you believed in yourself and you were active. My brothers, one thing I want to stress is this. It is important for you to allow God to be God through you and activate your faith, because you never know to whom may be attached to your dreams and how you benefit them in their lives. Brother Mike, talk to me about your transition, an elite, profound, professional athlete, and then from there, transitioning to coaching.
Transitioning into coaching is what I needed.
Mm.
You know, like I said, I played those years, and you're so used to being in a team atmosphere. Being blessed to come back to the University of Miami in 2016 and get around a spiritual leader named Mark Rick, who was the coach at the time, came from Georgia. And like you said, I had never seen so many, big, strong men, but like devoted to God and to Christ. And that really opened me up to like, okay, you could be a beast on the field, on the court, but you can still be a good, Christian man and put it all together. You know, when I was with the Niners, we had Brian Young, Ahmed Plummer, a lot of those guys in the locker room, Andre Carter, and we go in there and pray in the shower before the game, in the area. And even Ray Lewis, who he was, to see him play, he's trying to kill people the whole game. But after the game, he took a knee, he said, God, I love you guys, let's pray. I'm like, bro, you just tried to kill us. Like 60 minutes ago, you was twisting dudes' ankles. But you can have that switch. You can be that guy, that dominant force on the court and on the football field, but you still can have that Christian faith. So being able to transition back to my alma mater and coach with a man like Coach Rick, he enabled us to, a lot of jobs, you don't pray a lot. You don't get an opportunity to pray. But being up under him, I know for sure we prayed at least 3 times a day, before practice, after practice. We had a coach's Bible study. Wow. FCA, I credit everything to FCA. Just like you said, I met a man named Mike Blanc when I was the head coach at American Heritage and Plantation. I met him, I said, I need FCA here, because I had it at the University of Miami. And when he came in and implemented that, my kids were able to do this. My team did this.
Wow.
I remember we had about 8 kids the first segment, and then we had about 12, then we had 20, and then we had about 40 kids, and they can open up. It was a safe place to talk about God. The one thing I think that a lot of people should use this, and Coach Rick did, is every time we had a coaches meeting, he opened it up with a devotion. So out of 40 coaches, at least twice a year, it was your turn to give your devotion of why you're blessed to be in a predicament that you are. And I asked him, I said, why do you do that? He said, to humble egos, you always start out talking about God and the God's grace and letting them give their devotion. And after that, everybody humbled themselves. So every meeting we had, it was a devotion. And it was, when your time coming up, you're like, oh, I gotta put something together, whether it's on a video or just coming out of your heart or through a poem. There was a devotional period. And I think that really opened my eye that I can be the person I need to be, and I can still be the Christian man that I really want to be inside of myself.
That is extraordinary, because one of the key components of living under a code is understanding the power of your tongue, speaking life. Someone spoke life over you when you were in your darkest moment. Someone spoke life over you when you were feeling a certain way. Those are some of the core principles that as men that we need to embrace in our everyday lives. So I got a question for both of you guys. There is a unique confidence in what you know. But to the contrary, there is a gap to the unknown and tap into things that you don't know.
Yeah.
So now that post your careers, you're in different spaces and you're uncomfortable. This is uncharted territory.
Yeah.
How did you channel that? Where was the mindset at that point?
I never had a job other than playing basketball. The thought of me even starting a business was daunting. I remember Googling how to come up with a company name.
Wow.
Like that's how green I was to this whole thing. And so I literally went to YouTube University. I remember trying to get our first website up, and it was like $10,000 for a website. And I'm like, man, I'm broke. I don't have this money. So I literally spent hours and hours on YouTube teaching myself how to code my own website so I could put my first website up. teaching myself how to work Photoshop and Illustrator because I didn't go to school for fashion or clothes or nothing like that. So I had to learn how to create, the designs that I wanted to do. And so one of the things that I learned in that process, and now when I go back and speak to the different NBA teams, the league will bring me back and talk to guys, I tell them, like, in that transition phase, you have to actually humble yourself because you've been the best at what you do for your whole life. That part doesn't translate. The work ethic translates, the dedication translates, but that ego you gotta kill because no matter how many points you scored on that basketball court, when you step into something new, you starting over from the beginning. That's a point of frustration for a lot of guys, but you have to remind them, as good as I was at handling the basketball, when I first started dribbling the basketball, I was losing it. Yeah. I had to work at that every day. I had to spend the hours to where I could dribble and that thing was on a string. I ain't had to look at it, you know what I mean? So when you starting over, it's the same thing. It was like me starting to dribble all over again. I was messing up and doing all those things, but I put the time in, the hours. But even with that uncertainty of stepping into a new place, I remember even the first time I met you at Rich Dennis's house at the Entrepreneur Assembly. When he invited me, I had the biggest case of imposter syndrome that you could possibly have. I'm like, what am I gonna be doing in a room full of investors and founders of brands? I'm a former basketball player. I almost didn't get on the plane. That's how scared I was. I literally was like, they're gonna see that I don't know what I'm doing. I prayed and forced myself to get on that plane and come out there. And then I realized, man, everybody else is figuring this thing out too. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's where I started to kind of gain some of that confidence in that next thing that I was doing. But there's a reset for sure. You stepping into something new, and the other thing that I have to say to guys, because when I'm talking to these basketball players and these athletes, they're like, well, I'm not good at anything else. And I tell them, well, you're not supposed to be because you spent all your time dedicated to this, but you do have other interests. So I'm not asking you to think about what else you're good at. What else are you interested in? Because when that time comes, and it's gonna come, the ball gonna stop bouncing one day. Yeah. The things that you're naturally interested in, when you start putting that time into those, you'll become good at those as well. So that confidence just grows as you shift your focus and your dedication and your time to that new thing.
That is so profound. Brother Mike, what about you, man? What was that like?
It was humbling because I always compare being in the NFL to being a giant. You know, there's always a spotlight on you, and once a week you get this platform to perform. And, everything is all over, social media and people watching you. You got all these fans. And to adapt my life to life after that, well, I had to humble myself a lot. And then I got my wife, you know what I'm saying? She had to humble herself as well, because, you had this certain status. But the good thing is my wife was okay with that. When we go from the Benz to the Saturn, or, we had the Range Rover, now we got the Camry, or the Lexus, and she was okay with that. So that really helped me adjust within itself. But being able to be around the sport that I love really helped me. I did some investments, and you just finishing up. I wanna open this company. I opened a puppy store for my wife and I. And I always wish I had got a partnership, because now I look at it, like you said, early on in business, you want your business to boom right away. I hit it, and just like my success as an athlete getting drafted, I thought that success was gonna come to my puppy store. You put it in Bell Harbor, you're in Surfside, you got the most beautiful dogs in the world. It's a great, great occupation, because who don't love dogs? And working with dogs, they don't say nothing, they just love you up. So it was a great occupation, but I lost on it. And I was really hurt after 2 years. We go through the recession of 2008, and it failed. And I was so hurt. And this guy told me, he said, man, it took me 10 years to make my first $1 million with my business. And till that man told me that, I didn't think. I thought like my success had to come just like it came as an athlete. Yeah. That right there was humbling within itself. So what I changed up to is to what I love. I started training athletes in my neighborhood. So I had my son at the time was about 7, 8 years old, and I took his friend and started giving them NFL drills. And what I learned was those kids pick up those drills just as fast as adults because they're so green, and their brains are growing faster than ours, so they learn fast. And I transitioned that from coaching with working with kids in my community to coaching Little League. Think about that. You're a first round pick. Now you're out there coaching 8-year-olds and none of them are listening to you. That's humbling within itself. Right?
Yeah.
But what that did was it taught me to teach the fundamentals of the game. So when I transitioned to going to Carroll City High School and coaching at American Heritage in my coaching career, it really helped me because I had worked with those young kids that I can teach them, this is this step. It's not, how you catch the ball, like you really got to put you know what I'm saying? So that foundation is what made me transition into being a pretty good coach. That, and I was a full-time sub. So I had to sit in front of a class at American Heritage. This is one of the most prestigious schools in the country. And these kids in there, their parents paying a lot of money, and I'm a sub, and I got to teach these kids. But what I learned was I was able to transition complex and make it very simple. So I can say fundamentals and my transition as a teacher really helped me become a college football coach. But I didn't know it at the time. That was God right there, put me in position. And luckily I had the patience to sit there and, be patient and not think, right now I got to be a college coach or I'm going to be an NFL coach. I worked my way up from 8th graders to high school, and then I got my way to college.
No, that's profound. And one of the things that I think is important, what both of you all scenarios is when we're stuck in that place, we're trying to figure out our next, this weight as men, as black men that we carry.
Yep.
My brothers, we ain't got to carry that weight.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's keeper, let's talk about this weight. Let's release this weight so we can together and the brethren come up with a plan so we can rebuke the devours of the enemy of the idea of imposter syndrome, of having me think I don't belong. You deserve to be in this room. You deserve to be at this table because you were created to be extraordinary, right? But the thoughts, as I'm thinking, so is me in my heart. And this is one of the things that on this show, I am so excited to have conversations around in full transparency for us, because we were taught this. What goes on in this house, it's staying right here. We gonna figure this out. Brother Lanny, how you doing, man? I'm good, man. Mike, you good? I'm good, man. But you really good. But see, you didn't want to take that plane. Right? So the point is that we want to reverse and transform that, right? So that we can build and create together the life that we deserve, that our kids deserve, our communities deserve. Obviously tie into our legacies, right? So which leads me to legacy building. So which leads me to Brother Lanny, legacy, Black excellence.
Yes.
Legacy building. Talk to me about what are the biggest leadership lessons you've learned?
Well, I say, we were talking about this earlier about, especially for young black men, young black boys, what we aspire to be, right? And I'm a big believer that you can't be what you can't see. And so oftentimes the only positive images of ourselves that we see is as athletes and entertainers, right? So all of us are trying to achieve those things. And, in my own journey, I had to look back and realize, like, even with the NBA, there's only 450 jobs. It's only 450 spots for basketball players in the NBA. But if I go to any high school in the country right now, every black kid that I talk to, I'm going to the league. I'm going to the league. Yep. It's less than lottery ticket chances for you to actually make it to the league. So for me, I've really taken on this role, and I feel like this responsibility to show the youth that you can be more. You know what I mean? I think the beautiful thing about the testimony and the story is I thought I was only going to be a basketball player, and God had a bigger dream for me than I had for myself. And so now that I'm in this position, I can show them that you can actually be an executive. You can be a CEO. You could be a founder. There's so many things you can be other than a professional athlete, you know what I mean? And so for me, that's the leadership role that I feel like I'm stepping into, is showing them you can look like me, you can come from where we come from, and the whole world is full of options, and exposing them to the options outside of just being an athlete or an entertainer. To really back in and answer your question, my mother is probably the biggest inspiration for me in showing what leadership looks like. She's a country girl from a small town called Gina, Louisiana. Her parents didn't make it past the 3rd grade. They had to help their parents in the fields. They were sharecroppers. So my mother was the first person to even make it past middle school, to graduate from high school, to graduate from college. She moved to Texas and became one of the top computer programmers in the state of Texas. So when you think about a Black woman in the late 70s, early 80s, as a computer programmer in the state of Texas, I saw a superhero in my home, you know what I mean? And that's the reason why I've never had any limits to my dreams, is because I've seen her accomplish what would be considered the impossible, you know what I'm saying? And so just her leading by example, I've taken that from that DNA that she's given me, and that's what I hope my legacy is that my example can show the ones coming after me that you really can be anything out here, and you're not limited, you know, to just being an athlete.
That's extraordinary.
My biggest leadership lesson is just being a good listener. I think it's something that it sounds like something
it's
simple.
So hard for us to listen, man. It's I'm over talking. You talking? I'm over talking you. I ain't trying to hear that, man. I ain't trying to. But I hear what you're saying, man.
You know, just being a listener. Like when someone says something, I try to take a moment and then I respond, because a lot of times we're so busy thinking that we're not really listening to what that person is saying. So I just made that my deal is to listen to my daughter. My daughter's 18, my son's 24. Listen to my son, listen to my wife. Because she'll come home, you won't believe what happened at work.
And it's hard, though.
I'm watching TV like, what? They did what, huh? But I'm not listening.
Right.
And my daughter called me out and said, Mom, you know he ain't listening to you. So I had to really, say, okay, I'm gonna listen. And being a coach, you do a lot of hours and you're always away. We all do it in our businesses. You're always busy doing stuff. So I had to really come home and be present. Sometimes I'm hearing my daughter, but I'm not really listening to her. And, she was going through a lot of stuff, or my son's going through a lot of stuff. So I had to, or my wife, so I had to make myself coming home after 14 hours. Sometimes I come home and I say, give me 10 minutes, y'all. Because I want to bring the same energy I brought at work, I'm going to bring that out here. So I give me 10 minutes, I'm going to lay down, and then I'm going to come back downstairs. What we cooking? You need help? I'm going to wash these dishes. Baby girl, what you got for homework? What we doing today? My son, let's go work out together. So I really have to become a good listener, because all these years I've been with these players and they're like my kids too. So I'm out there giving it all to my players, but when I come home, I'm not giving it to my family. So I just really had to hear that and do a better job of that. You hate to be called out, but the ones that love you say, hey, this is what it is. You gotta listen. The Lord is speaking to you, and you can't hear it because you're not silent. You're not just, you're not just taking it all in. So those are my lessons as far as moving forward in leadership. I think, and my leadership has been here. I've been the head coach at a high school, and I've been an assistant coach, and I've been in the NFL, so it's been here. But through it all, I think I became a lot better listener.
That's interesting. And, obviously through those peaks and valleys and what you endure, it's always unique to have a conversation around what was the household like through all this?
Yes.
So what was it like, with your spouse or significant others? What was that like?
Oh man, great question, because I learned a lot. A lot of people want everything to be peaches and cream, but in reality, trial and tribulation brings out who you are and it builds you who you are. So going through the, downgrading the house and downgrading the cars, and going through the, going back to work and not being, that giant anymore, it was humbling, but I think my wife was the foundation in it all, because she stayed the same way, whether I was here or there, she was the same person. And she was very motivational and pushed me towards my goals and supportive. So I can say through everything I went through, it was just that rock of having my family there helped me make that transition.
That is so profound. My brothers, you got it all figured out. At least you think you do. You got the money, or they say they got the bag, you got the cars, you got the ladies. You're doing your thing. But at some point in this life, God will sit us down and humble us. And when he sits us down, how do we respond? Do we continue to do the things that we did in our yesterday? Or do we wake up, take off the blinders, and begin to allow God to be God, to do the extraordinary things that he has put over us in our lives. My brothers, it's time to wake up. My brothers, it's time to level up. My brothers, it's time to grow up. Enough's enough. We know what we're doing. We know what we continue to do. And we know it's foolish behavior. And most importantly, we know what we're doing is not pleasing to God. It's not pleasing to our children. Our children need us, black brother. They need us. They look up to us. Enough's enough. What's one key principle you always share with men who are in the process of reconstructing their identity and finding their purpose?
You gotta just take a long, deep look at yourself, and I pray on things before it happened. I can remember I used to always like good stuff would happen. I'm like, thank you, God, thank you, you blessed me, and thank you for the grace. But now, before I make a decision or I make a plan, whether it's financially, spiritually, or anything in my family, I pray beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, put God first. People say that all the time. You got to put God first, and it's going to be in his due time. But at the end of the day, if you put God first and you just let everything go and say, okay, it's going to happen for me, 9 times out of 10, that energy reciprocates itself. I'm a visualization person. I'm an affirmation. I got sticky notes all over my window. When I brush my teeth every morning, I got my financial goals, my spiritual goals, my family goals, my fatherly goals. And I can say, set those goals and make sure that you have a circle of things that you want to get better as.
Brother Lanny, what would you give him?
Your value to this world is not solely dependent on what you do. I think for men, especially for black men, a lot of times we believe our value is only in what we can provide for others and what our titles are, what our accomplishments are. But I found that that's going to leave you empty every time. I remember we had a men's mental health event back in LA. My brand put on this men's mental health event, and we had 300 black men doing sound bath, yoga, meditation, but we gave them all these note cards to write down, what are you struggling with mentally, with your mental health? And so many of them talked about feeling worthless, feeling unappreciated, feeling like they were not seen because they didn't have a certain amount of money in their bank account or they didn't have a certain title next to their names. And so I want you to know that you are valuable first and foremost just by being you. The tagline for Actively Black is there's greatness in our DNA. And I know that the world will tell you you're less than, not as smart as, that you don't belong in these certain rooms. But there's literally greatness in your DNA. Accepting that, owning the fact that there's greatness inside of you is the first step to then walking in your greatness. You got to accept and realize that it is inside of you. And that's what I would share. Your title is temporary. The money can be temporary. Your position can be temporary. But who you are and that greatness inside of you is something that you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life.
That is extraordinary. One thing also I want to add to what my brothers have blessed you all with is this. It's the road ahead. Your road ahead. See, the conversations we have with our past, our present, and our future. My brother, your past, it is simply that, your past. It is your yesterday. The things that you did in your past, how you used to think, how you used to move, what you spent money on, what attracted you, your interests, whatever that was, heartbreak, that was your past. But my brother, I need to encourage you to keep it there. Because your past self has put you in position for your current self. But more importantly, I need you to look to your right because your future self is relying on you. But you can't get to your future self because you continue to operate in your yesterday self. But my brother, I want to encourage you to let go of that My brother, I want to encourage you to let go and let God have his way. Because when you let go and let God have his way, in that moment is when God continues to reveal his plans for you and your life, your purpose, for you may not understand what that is or what that may be today. But in order for you to get to that, you got to let go of some things so that you can get to some things for your future self. Because make no mistake, not only is your future self relying on you, but your children are relying on you for your future and generations to come. My brother, the road ahead is promising.
I found, especially with Black men, there has been a lack of safe space for us to address some of those traumas that we carry with us from our past. And that starts early, right? You, even as a boy, you fall and hurt yourself, them tears start falling, what they tell you, hey, wipe them tears, you can't cry.
You better man up, man.
You can't cry, you better man
up.
up,
You crying
right?
for, man?
I think we all understand why our fathers may have been that way because they're trying to prepare us for the world that we're gonna enter. A lot of times that prevents us from even learning how to deal with our emotions or learning how to deal with the things that do hurt us. And so then we don't understand how to process our traumas. We don't understand how to process these things that hurt us. And then that male ego kind of takes over and like, nah, I can't even express that I'm hurt. I can't express that I'm dealing with these things. So, man, I would encourage, all of us to find that brother that you can talk to, find somebody that you can be vulnerable with and let them know, like, these are the things that I'm struggling with. These are the things that I was dealing with, because I think that's the only way we're going to be able to heal from those past things so that we can be better in the present and then, have a better future for ourselves.
This is so important right here. Like, I've been looking for this. That's why I was so excited about coming here today, because I want to have guys, brothers in my community that we can sit down and talk, like barbershop talk. Hey, this happened the other day, and we can share issues or go through, praise or anything that's going on, and we don't have that enough. I got my guy, Pastor Mike Blunt, great guy, my barber. Everybody got their barber or your braid person. Like, I open up to them, but we don't have it enough. And a lot of other coaches do have that. I'm not gonna say one of my good friends is coacher, but once a month, he gets together with his people and they share business ideas with each other. Hey, you need a realtor? Use him. You need a towel person here. You need the lawn service. And they have lunch and they go. But they're constantly building each other up and talking through things. And I think this is so exciting to me, because I want more of this, and we need more of this, because your story, all stories are different, but if we come together, we know that everybody got stuff going on.
Right.
My team, we know what Melvin's about to say, and I'm big on this, and it's something that was revealed to me in my quiet moments, my time of meditation, in my darkest moments, and what my wife and I endured in losing our son in 2013. And we went through such of a dark moment in that trial. But in that moment, God revealed some things to me. And in that moment, when I learned to let go and let God, he carried me, he sustained me. But he also put this on me in my heart to let everyone know that comes in my proximity, and let the world know consistently that the story must be told. The story must be told. The stories of the brethren, the testimonies, because we know there's no testimony without a test. And when you get through that test, you're going to share that test. You're going to talk about that test. And my brother, I overcome by your testimony. For the Bible teaches us. And this is something that I think is what's missing with us, my brother. Because you don't have to carry that weight. You are not in this alone. Because if God be for you, what shall be against you? There is no weapon that may prosper, that may form, that may prosper, that may form, that may prosper. No weapon. Let's talk about it. Let's have conversations so that we are equipped and prepared to attain our blessings. So, fellas, as I mentioned earlier about the blessing of the road ahead, the conversation that we must have with ourselves, with our past, our present, and our future. What practices would you say help you most during seasons of uncertainty?
Just my humbleness, I had a different story. I grew up with my father. My mom passed when I was 8 months old in a car accident. So I grew up with my dad and had grandmothers. So I can say my past, growing up I grew up on the porch of old ladies, like sitting back and being patient and going to the grocery store with grandma and stuff. So as I look on myself now, I'm super patient because of that. We all been through tragedy, sound like, but that tragedy built me to who I am today. When I was playing Little League football and every kid out there had their mom with no dads, I had my dad with no mom. Mm-hmm. So when, the moms out there, go Johnny, go, I was trying to knock Johnny's head off because I didn't have my mom. Mm-hmm. But I was able to channel that energy into being a physical football player at 8 years old, and that propelled me to being a first-round pick. So I can say nowadays with what I've been through, and I've always I'm so busy trying to build my life after football and after being that top draft pick that I kind of got away from. That's actually pretty unique, so I can sit here and say that instead of just saying I want to move forward so bad and build my business and build my brand, I'm kind of leaking back into like, I was a pretty good player, man. You know what I'm saying? It was 1% of kids coming out of high school had a chance to be a first-round pick. So I'm not just moving away. I'm a coach now, and I'm a mentor. I'm an ambassador at the University of Miami. I was it's funny because they call me a first-round rump. They call me first-round rump. And at first, like, man, don't call me my name Mike, man. But now, like, hey, you know what?
Embracing it.
Go ahead, call me that. You know what I'm saying? I'm embracing it.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
Lastly here, for both of you guys, our futures and the idea to embrace our future selves, the idea to do what the Bible says, to speak to things that are not as though they were. I'm speaking to my future. But before I speak to my future, I'm acknowledging my past. Brother Lanny, how do you balance honoring your past while you're embracing your future?
Oh, man. What comes to mind immediately, which was a big healing moment for me in my past that I think has unlocked so much for me in my future, is the day that I was actually able to forgive my father. So had a different set of circumstances. Yeah. My father succumbed to some of the temptations that were around in the early 80s that, for those black men who were struggling and were looking for that escape, the crack epidemic that really wiped out a lot of black men during that era. And it led to a lot of trauma in my home for myself, for my mother. And I grew up hating my father. And there was a lot of anger inside of me, the fights that I would get into, all the things that came with that. And so as an adult, I had an opportunity to sit with my father and I asked him about his past. And he shared with me the things that he dealt with growing up and the traumas that he had. And it actually allowed me a space to give him grace because I understood that he didn't have access to no mental health, no therapy, none of these types of things. And he grew up in an era that was even more dangerous for black men. And a lot of the traumas that he experienced is what led to, unfortunately, what happened with us. But being able to forgive released this weight off of me. It released this anger that was inside of me. And so when I think about that moment, giving my father grace and forgiving him, how that released me from this chain that was kind of holding me back, I move forward with that same type of grace, for people. Everybody has a story, everybody has something that they're dealing with. And so not allowing those things to weigh you down, I think is kind of what can help propel you into the future. And so, that's one thing that I do. And so now I honor my father as well. You know what I mean? Like, nice. Today he's clean and I'm proud of him.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's
big, right?
Damn. That's big, man.
Why am I getting emotional?
That's big.
But
that's real.
That's motivation for me to know that whatever obstacles await for me in the future, because let's be real, even after we've conquered our past and even after we are confident in our present, there's still gonna be obstacles that come in the future. So I'm able to kind of pull back on that and know that I can overcome whatever lies ahead of me in my future.
I appreciate that transparency because my brothers, I'm gonna tell you something. Where there's no forgiving of a forgiving heart, you will remain where you are. And as hard as it may be, if God allows you to repent and he forgives and remembers no more, we are required to forgive and we are required to honor thy mother, thy father, no matter what it was, what it is. Those are biblical fundamental principles that we are governed under, which is his code. So if there is a spirit of unforgiveness that's upon you today, I encourage you to forgive so that you can gain clarity going forward. Brother Mike, same for you, man.
Yeah.
Honoring your past, embracing your future.
I could say my legacy is the key right there. At 45 years old, it's not about me no more. It's about my wife and my kids. And everything I do now, everything I did in the past is kind of building up towards my legacy. And I say that to say, like, their emotional wellness, just being able to talk to someone. I've been to therapy, so now my kids understand that they can go to a therapist and not be afraid of that.
Wow.
Financial literacy. I didn't learn about money. Nobody talks about money with us. You just get a bunch of money thrown at you, and you got the taxes, and you got to get a CPA, you got to have trust people, and so that part of it, I'm trying to be more transparent with my kids and my wife about finances, so they don't have to learn it how I did and having good credit. And then finally, the purpose. Our purpose has changed so much, but now my purpose is transitioning for what I was to being that father that put everything into my wife and my kids. And that didn't come easy in my mind through trial and tribulations, and being the age that I am, I see what life is for. Who goes to say 10 years from now that's not different? But I know that, all I know is that at my age, I'm willing to say I'm all about learning. I want to learn this and learn that, and everything I'm learning, I'm pushing that towards my legacy.
Wow. Well, fellas, I can't thank you all enough. Your transparency, your vulnerability, I am confident that this is going to touch many lives. And this is what it's all about, fellas. This is what it's all about, us creating these spaces, having these conversations so that we win. Brothers, I think we've done it. I think we've unlocked the code of rebuilding post our careers after having peak successes, and what that looks like, the challenges that we had endured, but we're still here because God didn't put you through anything you could not bear. And he's committed to continuing that because that is one of his promises to us. For we know that his word is true. And so with that, we thank him. And I thank you both for joining me on today's episode. Thank you for joining this episode of The Bless Code. Living by his code is a journey full of grace, growth, and opportunities to bless others. If today's episode spoke to you, please share this powerful message, and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social to stay grounded, grateful, and blessed. Until next time, keep your faith strong, your heart open, and live life you're destined for. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you just unlocked another Bless Code.